Q30 took Tampa along with the men's ice hockey team for the 2016 Frozen Four. Rand Pecknold and his team looking to capture its first national championship in program history. We have our tournament takeaways for you coming up.
We also will talk about men and women's lacrosse. We'll let you know which team is on a hot streak and which one's on a losing streak.
And baseball took to Siena this weekend for a 3-game set with the Saints. MAC play hasn't been so friendly to the Bobcats so far, while softball played just its first MAC series of the season, hosting Monmouth this past weekend.
And as always, we'll share with you our step up and sit down players of the week. Don't miss any of it because it's coming up right now.
Hello, Bobcat faithful. Welcome and thank you for joining us in Studio 125. Alongside Reagan Martin, I'm MJ Baird Reagan. I'd say we have a great show lined up today. What do you think?
Definitely.
Let's jump right in, starting with the hockey action. Frozen Four, Tampa Bay, a lot of people down there. Semifinals, Quinnipiac versus Boston College. After an exhilarating game, the Bobcats prevailed by a final score of 3-2. Kevin McKernan, Andrew Taverner, Landon Smith, they all tallied goals for Quinnipiac. The game came down to the wire, though. Reagan, what did you see in this game?
I actually saw a Bobcat team that we haven't seen in a while. They started out not as good as they've played before, but they've always had trouble in the first period. They've always lacked in the first period. They usually come back and have amazing third periods, and we actually saw the opposite this time. They actually had 2 goals in the first period, BC not having any. And I thought that it was a good way for them to start the tournament. It was different. It showed that they're here to play, and bringing something different, I think, really scared people. BC, I think, was intimidated a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. You know, those two goals early on. I'm sorry, Reagan. Those 2 goals early on. I'm sorry, everyone. Apparently, I can't talk today. Those were huge for this team. Like you said, you know, they're coming into the Frozen Four, a big stage, a lot of people down at Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay, and the Bobcats just really brought it to BC. And 2 goals early solidified that they were ready to play. They weren't afraid of a Hockey East opponent. And, you know, they carried it out the rest of the game. Yeah, it got close at the end. Michael Gartig had to come up big with some big saves at the end of the game. But I think those 2 goals really solidified not only for BC, that Quinnipiac was a legit team, but for the minds of all the players on that team, hey, we can do this. We want to win a national championship.
Exactly. The one thing I would have liked to see, though, is that they finished it up strong. They did an awesome first period, and as I said, they usually have a great third period. However, we didn't see that. BC actually scored in the third period. And there was actually the only score in the third period. And I thought that was a little different for Quinnipiac. I expected them to have a strong third period. But having a great first period, you know, it saved them in the end.
Yeah, it is really, it's different, like you said, having Michael Gartig have to come up really big at the end because, I mean, yes, he plays well the whole game, and then Quinnipiac comes back. We've seen that multiple times. But definitely a little bit of a different set in this game. All right, so Reagan, let's move on to what everyone wants to talk about, the national championship game. The Bobcats searching for their first NCAA championship. The Fighting Hawks looking for their 8th. North Dakota pulled away in the third period with 3 unanswered goals to defeat Quinnipiac, winning the national championship 5-1. Reagan, you were there. What did you think of the championship game?
Well, to talk about the championship game, I think we have to go back to the second game of the tournament.
Okay.
North Dakota against Denver. And I thought for Quinnipiac, Denver would have been the person they wanted to play. That was the team they should have played. North Dakota just came out flying that second game. They were so fast. They looked so big compared to Denver, and Quinnipiac has a small team. They have a fast team, but it's small. When you put them up against big guys like that, like North Dakota or Cornell, those guys, the size makes a difference to them. And I think we really saw that when it came to the championship game.
Not to mention, too, North Dakota, 12 draft picks, NHL draft picks, that is, on their squad.
Unbelievable.
You could tell when this was even strength hockey, whether it be 5-on-5, 4-on-4, North Dakota was just a better team. They really dominated Quinnipiac. And I was a little surprised, you know, Quinnipiac was 1 for 4 in the power play, but they had 3 chances in the first period. The refs almost giving Quinnipiac chances to stay in this game after North Dakota goes up too early. But, you know, they don't capitalize on those power play chances early, and when you don't do that, it's tough to play 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, even strength, whatever it is, with a team of North Dakota's caliber. You know, Sam Annis, Rand Pecknold said after the game he's only about 50% healthy. That's really tough for your leading goal scorer, leading point getter to be struggling.
It's a team sport, though. I mean, when someone's down, when your lead player's down, everyone else has to step up. But I think we have to go and talk about what no one else wants to talk about, but that shorthanded goal by North Dakota.
Yeah, that was tough, Reagan. I mean, for anyone who didn't see it, Michael Gartig comes out of the net, tries to play a puck coming into the offensive zone. He gets to the puck first, just not a smart decision. He's trying to shoot the puck, clear it out of the zone. goes off the right leg of a North Dakota Brock Besser, and he puts it right in a wide open
In
net.
his defense, I think it was a little unlucky. I mean,
Yes.
it was shorthanded. Would I have gone out? No, I would not have gone out as a goalie to get that. You're shorthanded. You want to play defensively. However, it was unlucky. He shot it. It shouldn't have hit him. It accidentally hit him. It hit him off the skate. You know, it was so unlucky, and it rattled him. It rattled the team. But they had a great second period. No goals scored. I mean, in their way, looking at defensively, no goals were scored against them. I think that was great. They came back from something that could have torn a team apart. Like, it could have gotten to their head. They could have just let the game go. But Gartig stayed in it, and I think, you know, almost be a step-up player for that, for sticking in the game and playing it out.
I would argue, too, that goal Gartig, flubbed there. I would argue just that, Devon Taves, he not only turned over the puck, but missed a check, and that the puck goes right in. The puck goes right in. There's no forward support. All right, so, Reagan, a game where the attendance was over 19,000 people, it seemed to me from up in the press box, there was a lot of green there, almost as if the entire North Dakota state was at the game. Pretty crazy, if I do say so myself. How important was this, home crowd advantage for the Fighting Hawks?
I think it actually made Quinnipiac the underdog when it comes down to it. It's one thing to travel, and it's a neutral zone technically. It's no one's home field or
You're down in Florida. I hope it's no one's home.
It shouldn't have that, but North Dakota came, like you said, the entire state must have come.
Yeah.
And to have everyone roaring at you, they were saying things that, like, I couldn't even know those cheers were invented. They were just yelling, and it's just overwhelming. And as an ice hockey player on the ice, as you may know, it's very quiet on the ice. Yeah. People have to be very loud to hear, and so for them to hear that, it's just overwhelming. It got to their heads.
I talked to a guy that stayed at the same hotel as I did, North Dakota fan. He came down with 3 or 4 other guys. They were like, this is what we live for. We come to these games. We travel during the regular season, never mind the tournament. North Dakota, 16 years removed from a national championship, they finally win this. And don't forget, too, during the national anthem of this game.
Incredible. Gave me chills.
Absolutely. I'm up in the press box. They're singing the national anthem. And instead of Home of the Brave, you hear Home of the Sioux. The entire stadium yells Sioux.
It was overwhelming.
With reference to North Dakota there. Very overwhelming, I would say. So let's send it back to Tampa, where after the national championship game, QBSN broadcasters Justin Cloutier and Tyler Brossius reflect on the Bobcat tournament performance and the season as a whole.
Welcome in, folks, live from Amalie Arena. I'm Justin Cloutier. This is Tyler Brossius. We're the broadcasters tonight for the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network. Tyler, we did both of these games. We covered both of them. I was play-by-play for Thursday. You were tonight. What was your biggest takeaway from the BC game on Thursday?
I think the BC game, they came out and they were really strong. I mean, we've seen this Bobcats team struggle the first 10, 12 minutes, and it was just not that. They came out and scored 2 quick goals with McKernan, and then Tavener, and bang, bang, they were up 2-0. When this team had a 2-0 lead this season, they really didn't let it go. When they led it all, they were pretty good, and the Rand-Pecknold-led team was dominant throughout the season when they had the lead, and I think they persevered. Gartig made big saves down the stretch, and they ended up winning that one 3-2. Really, that pretty much sums it up. And then coming into tonight, we had the big matchup, North Dakota and Quinnipiac, the 1 and 2 team. They pretty much flip-flopped in the pairwise all year, and then finally it came down to it. And what were the biggest takeaways from that game?
Biggest takeaways from tonight is North Dakota is obviously a very good team, quite clearly. I mean, Kajul, that top line, the CBS line as they're called, there was a +4 tonight with Brock
Brossius.
Brock Boser, thank you. Anyways.
Overtired here.
Yeah, right, overtired, Amalie Arena. We're feeling it, folks. Nonetheless, this North Dakota team, very good, 12 drafted players. Rand Pecknold was talking about it today in the presser. You heard him talk about this team looked like a MASH unit out here. They were all hurt. Sam Manis playing at probably 50%. That's a direct quote from Rand Pecknold. This team, when you have Devon Taves finishing the game at a -3, you're not going to win that game.
Were pretty much scrapping and crawling the whole time to stay afloat. It reminds me of someone, that gets left at sea and the ship capsizes and you're trying to stay afloat and not drown. It kind of what it felt like the whole night for the Bobcats. They get within 1 to go into the second period, and they just couldn't get it going. But when you look at this season, everyone will look at the different games and they'll remember the loss to North Dakota being a big one. But as the season ends, it is 4 losses. Over 40-plus games and only 4 losses for this team. A truly remarkable season, and with seniors leaving like St. Denis and Gartig, there are other players coming up in freshmen, and the next recruiting class, and Chris Truhl that will fill those shoes, which I think are very big for this team.
One thing that needs to be said before we move on to next year is the play of Michael Gartig this season was exceptional, second to none. He was an exceptional goalie all season. Nonetheless, we're talking about next year, a lot of players coming in, transfers, Kevin Dwayne, BU transfer, Chris Truhl, the Air Force goaltender transfer. It'll be interesting to see who is the next goaltender for this team.
For everyone here, we're going to send it back to the studio. Big thanks to you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Now, MJ, we have seen the Bobcats and what they did in the tournament, but let's take a step back, look at the season overall, and what they've accomplished, actually, as a team.
Yeah, Reagan, the list really goes on and on of the accomplishments of this team. You got the record, 32-4-7. Sam Annis comes an All-American. Michael Gartig silences critics. Team wins hardware. They accomplish 3 of the 4 goals. ECAC regular season, ECAC tournament, make it to the Frozen Four, make it to the national championship game. The team has raved all season. Rand Pecknold, players, Soren Janssen, the captain, everything about how this team is proud of the culture they have created. So the list really goes on and on.
I think you said it all. The list is unbelievably long. But let's just look at the record. 32-4-7.
Yep.
They only lost 4 games. They fought for those ties. I think it's incredible. And then how many of those games, we said this before, they came from behind, or they had a great third period to get them that win. I think that it says something for the team. It says something for the captains. It says something for the coach. You have to pick a team up, and that can be hard, especially when you're losing. They had that loss against BU. I think it kind of got the team together. They're like, we want this. We want to get to the tournament. We want to have a great record. And I think for them to achieve this, it's one of the best in the school.
Sure is, Reagan. So now to a question that many people are asking. How much is this team going to be affected by the seniors that are leaving?
Like I said, the morality of it, the team being together is a huge part of this team. And then they had captain Soren Janssen and Travis St. Dennis. I think they're going to be a big part missed in the locker room. Not even just on the ice, but in the locker room.
I agree.
You need them to pick you up, and I think they did an amazing job of it. And they're also going to be missed on the ice. They're also losing Gartig.
Yeah, you said it there. I think Michael Gartig's the biggest factor, clearly, with who's Quinnipiac going to go with next
That's
at
the
goalie.
big question.
Sean Lawrence,
Big
Chris
question.
Truhl, who's it going to be? But you kind of mentioned all the other names there. Alex Baird on defense. The team does have a good defensive recruiting class, though. Someone like Luke Shiplow can step right in and fill that void. Tom Hilbert, captain, very vocal in the locker room, off the ice. Good person. You don't want to be missing him going into next season, but he is graduating. So I think that's all for the seniors, Reagan, don't you think?
Yeah, they do have depth. I think they might come out on top next year too.
All right, coming up on Bobcat Breakdown, both lacrosse teams had games this past week on the road. The women looked to get their first conference win, while the men looked for their third in the Motor City.
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services, from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
The freshmen this year have stepped in and really just eliminated that problem, doing the right plays at the right time.
I mean, it certainly seems like an uphill battle for this team, but Tricia Fabi is one of the best coaches at this university.
Bobcats hosting Arizona State. We'll start with this power play.
But she's strong. Good Lord, I saw her lifting one time. She could squat 3 of me.
Well, 7 of me then.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Pause. In the end, we're here to win the championship this year.
Jess Fontaine now has that. She's going to take a ripper off the post, but she's going to come back.
And my number one, hold your applause, Bobcats fans, is Quinnipiac.
All right, Victoria, you know what time it is. It's top 5 plays of the week.
My favorite time.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. Reagan, let's jump right into some lacrosse action here. We'll begin with the men's team. Quinnipiac traveled to Detroit, Michigan this past week for what some people may not know is a MAC game. Bobcats took home a win 14-4. Reagan, a big win for Quinnipiac. What are your thoughts on this game?
This was a huge win for them. It's in Detroit. That was very far away. The travel's hard. The fact that they did this well, 14-4, amazing win for lacrosse. And I think the most important part of this is that they had 8 different people score.
Right.
That is huge. Before, they were relying on Brian Feldman, a sophomore, doing amazing, one of the best scorers on the team right now. However, he had 5 goals total, but they had 7 other people score.
Right.
This is huge for the team. This is giving them depth that we didn't think they had before. When they first started out, we thought they had this depth, and then they lost to Brown. They had a couple more losses. We thought this was going away. We thought they weren't as good as we thought they were going to be. But now we're seeing this team that we thought Quinnipiac had. They have the depth. They can go far.
I agree with you on the depth, but I think you just kind of glazed over Brian Feldman. 5 goals on the day, 8 points. Career day for him. You know, he's named the Offensive Player of the Week. Not to mention, this game was played in the snow. Snow is coming down in Detroit.
Yes.
On ESPN3, I mean, that's crazy. The snow, lacrosse, those don't go well together, at least not in my mind. And like you said, only let up 4 goals. Jack Brust in the net for Quinnipiac, playing very well. He's pulled at the end to get a freshman, Maximilian Smith, some time, but I think Jack Brust was key to this game, keeping Detroit at only 4 goals.
And as you said, Brian Feldman, I think, he does get his credit that he deserves. He scored 5 goals. That's amazing. And it was throughout it all. And as I said before, it was sophomores, juniors, seniors, all scoring. This team I think, can go very far.
Reagan, this team has started the MAC season with 3 straight wins. What are your initial impressions for this team?
I think they could go very far in the MAC. They have 3 MAC games left, Canisius, Monmouth, and Manhattan. These are huge games for them. They need to win them, and this will give them confidence going into the tournament.
I agree. Quinnipiac's sitting atop the MAC standings right now. They haven't let up double-digit totals and goals yet, while they have scored that. So, I mean, that goals for versus goals against average is really high. Testament to the Quinnipiac, not only offense, but as I was saying, Jack Brust as a goaltender too. They were ranked number 2 in the preseason poll behind Marist. 2 weeks ago, they go out and beat Marist in a thriller game. So huge game for them. Marist 3-1 in the MAC. Quinnipiac ahead of them, but I think you're right. I can see this team winning the MAC.
They also have home field advantage. They have home against Canisius. They go away for Monmouth and then come back for Manhattan.
Not to mention, too, Quinnipiac has 1 game in hand on Marist. So if Quinnipiac beats Canisius this weekend, they jump to 4-0 in the MAC, and then Marist is 3-1. And that'd be a big difference between two 3-1 teams at the top versus a 4-0 and a 3-1 team.
Yep.
So now on to some women's lacrosse, a team who struggled to find success on the field with a record of 2-10 and a conference record of 0-4. Reagan, what's this team missing?
They're missing a lot, MJ. I think they might be missing a lot. One thing I saw is that a lot of their goals are unassisted. This is, I find, very weird for a team sport. Their last game, they had 3 unassisted goals, and then the 2 games ago, they had 4 unassisted goals. Are they just not passing it? I think they're having trouble getting it around the field. I think they're having trouble even getting shots on, and I think it's showing, especially they just can't score sometimes.
Yeah, you said it right there. They can't score. My biggest thing for what this team is missing is goal scoring. 2 of the top 4 scorers on this team are freshmen. Allison Kuhn has 14 goals. That's second on the team. Kara O'Mealy has 7 goals, 4th on the team. So 2 of the top 4 scorers are your freshmen. At least in my mind, your freshmen shouldn't be your biggest contributors on the team. There's only 4 players with double-digit points on the team. They're relying too much on too little amount of players. Take Monmouth, for example. I have it right here. 7 players with double-digit points. And their top point getters, all 4 of them, have 30-plus points. Quinnipiac top point getter, 20 points, then followed by 19.
And let's remember, you don't get points from just scoring. You get it from assists.
Right.
And you lose them from penalties. So I think it's just they're having a hard time being a team right now. They're not getting it around the field, and that shows.
And I think for me, too, it's not goaltending that they're missing. It really is goal scoring. Quinnipiac, 141 goals against. Other teams at the top of the MAC have about 135 to 145, so that's definitely not the issue.
Yep. Well, with only 4 games left all in the conference, does this women's lacrosse team have a chance?
Reagan, I'm going to say that this team does have a chance to salvage their season.
Okay.
Okay, and here's why. They have Iona as their next game. Iona is 7th in the MAC. Quinnipiac is 9th. So there's one game that they should win right there, at least in my opinion. They have Marist at home. Marist is the 3rd team in the MAC. So this definitely is the toughest of the remaining scheduled games. And, looking at last year's standings, Quinnipiac only needs probably 3 wins to slide into the playoffs. So I would just kind of throw this Marist game out and say that it doesn't, it's not going to make a difference either way. And the big thing to remember, too, Quinnipiac has a lot of losses on the road. They're only 0-1 at home, so you never know if that could change the tides. They have Fairfield 5th in the MAC. That could also be a win. Manhattan at home 8th in the MAC. I think they can get some wins and jump into the playoffs.
Okay, I guess we'll have to see.
Okay. Reagan, let's jump to the baseball team now. John Delaney's squad is being held back from winning to its satisfaction this season. What in your mind is really, ailing this team, not allowing them to get the wins they want?
They're just not really putting the bat to the ball. They're not really getting the scores they need, and when they do, the other team seems to just, their defense crumbles a little bit, and they're letting up more runs than they can get. And to win a game, you have to get more runs. So I think we're just not seeing a consistency almost. But this may come into factor because they've had one home game.
Right.
One home game.
Yeah, for me, the thing that's ailing them the most is injuries. Ryan Nelson, second baseman, starter, he's out. Mike Palladino, starting center fielder, he's out. Palladino's huge at the plate, too. Not only is he at the top of the lineup, he has speed, whether it's bunting and getting on, whether it's getting a single, a double. He's top 50 in doubles in the nation last year. Getting on base, stealing a base, he's getting in scoring position, and just missing him is going to be huge. So I think the biggest thing for them is injuries.
Yeah, I agree. But we have to take a look at the schedule, too. I mean, they've had one home game.
Right.
So they are coming into a home field advantage.
Right.
They're going to have that. They have multiple games coming up. But I think they haven't had that chance to be home. They haven't had their home field advantage. They don't have their fans sitting there watching them, cheering them on, which, as we know through North Dakota, it's a huge part.
Right. So let's use that just to transition right into the homestand. Do you think this homestand is going to make a difference? Are they going to be able to pull out some wins?
I think it is. The traveling, they travel so far for baseball, especially in the spring.
Yeah.
You got to travel down to a warm state.
It's the weather.
And
Up here you can't play.
I mean, airplane rides, bus rides. It takes a toll on the team, and I think for them to be home for a long time, it's really going to help them mentally and physically.
Yeah, they have a month where they have a lot of MAC games. Iona, Manhattan, Ryder, all teams that are, also low in the MAC with Quinnipiac. So they could pull up some wins and climb up the standings, at least in my opinion.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll round out the spring sports, talking about some softball, excuse me.
Plus, Reagan, I will let you know what game I think is the most important. You'll let me know around Quinnipiac Athletics this week. And, of course, our weekly step-up and sit-down performances of the past week. Don't leave us. Bobcat Breakdown. We'll be right back.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken and cheese for just over $4. Giant cheesesteak subs and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Qcash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
This week's trending topic is #that. We are your source for Quinnipiac entertainment news.
Welcome back. Now we're going to take a look at softball. This is a team that we've seen have its good days and have some of its bad days.
Yep.
Overall, they're 12-17, and in the MAC, they are 0-2.
Yep.
So let's take a look at maybe what's ailing this team. Maybe I'll take a look at the pitchers.
Okay. I think what's keeping them back from taking their game to the next level really is the lineup depth. Like you said, two pitchers. we've harped on this a lot. I know, I understand that, but it's really coming back to haunt them now. 0-2 in the MAC. You have your 1-2 pitcher going in that series. You don't win either game. I mean, they have to be tired. They have combined. They have over 170. They have 179 innings pitched out of 199. So there's been 199 innings. Those two pitchers, Sidney Roby and Casey Herzog, have pitched 179. That's not going to work. It just really isn't.
No. And then softball pitches are different than baseball. I mean, with a baseball, it's a rotator cuff. You're actually straining your arm. Softball, I get it. It's a more natural pitch.
Okay.
They can do it. They can last longer than a baseball. However, you're just going to get tired. You're mentally tired. You're physically tired. You can't put someone through that. And then I feel like they would think the whole game is on their shoulders.
You throw the travel on top of that, too. It's just definitely not easy at all.
Again, going down to the warm states, planes, buses, it's exhausting.
And we have to remember, too, it is early in the MAC season, so we can't really get ahead of ourselves. But being swept first MAC series, I don't think that's good for this team.
Okay, so let's take a look now at our games to watch.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first. My game to watch, acrobatics and tumbling versus Fairmont State University. This is the first round of the NCATA National Tournament. Quinnipiac, the third seed in this tournament. Quinnipiac already beat Fairmont State once already this year, so maybe they're hopping right into the semis. We'll see.
Okay, well, for me, I got to go with women's lacrosse against Iona. This is a huge game for them. They need to turn it around. They need to pick up their game. They need to play as a team. They need to move the ball around. They need to score.
All right.
When it comes down to it. So now how about the step up and sit downs? Do you want to go with your step up?
I'll give you my step up first. My step up is Luciana Tobias of women's golf. Freshman, she takes home the medalist honors at the Harvard Invitational. Field of 42 players there. So good performance from her. Not to mention the Bobcats team won the tournament. They beat Sacred Heart by 2 strokes. So John O'Connor's team already, being successful, winning this Hartford Open. We'll see. They have, I believe it's Yale in the upcoming week. So I think so far women's golf with a good start, but we'll see. We'll see coming up.
Great pick. But I have to go with men's lacrosse. I think that they are playing as a team. I think that they are doing better than people expected right now. They're playing as a team, and I can't stress that enough because that is how you win. Right. Lacrosse is a game of keep away. You have to pass it, you have to score it, obviously to win a game, and I think they're doing great at that. And Brian Feldman is stepping up.
And you said it too, I believe it was 8 different scorers
8
in that
different
one game.
scores.
That's depth. What is this, the men's hockey team? Exactly.
They have the depth, and I think that will take them very, very far.
Right.
But we have to take a look at Brian Feldman too, controlling the team, leading the team. That's just someone, even if he's not maybe very vocal, I don't know, but he's just watching your teammate succeed in that way.
Right.
That helped other people.
And when you look at it that way, it's like, step up. We usually pick players, but I think team as a whole, great step up.
They all stepped up.
All right, Reagan, so, we talked about our step up performances of the week. Who in your mind may have sat down or taken a step back?
I got to stick with lacrosse, but I'm going with the women's lacrosse.
Yep.
Unlike the men's lacrosse, I don't think they're playing like a team. It really bothered me, the unassisted. 3 unassisted goals and then 4 unassisted goals. It's just not as a team. And if you have one person scoring and not passing, it's easy for the other team to defend you, and it's going to give them problems.
For me, I'm also sticking with women's lacrosse. I'm going to go with the forwards, though. Check out this stat here. They had 2 games this past week. They were outshot 20-10 against Monmouth. And then against Siena, outshot 28-11. It's no surprise they're only going to score 6 goals a game when you're only putting 10, 11 on net. These forwards, you said it, maybe it has to do with the passing. Maybe they're not completing their passes, but get balls to the net. Eventually, some of them are going to squeak in, even if it's a fluke goal.
You can get a garbage goal.
Exactly.
I think we're both right on this. It's the offense. The offense needs to step up if they want to go anywhere.
All right, well, Reagan, that's it for this episode of Bobcat Breakdown. Don't forget to catch all of our content, game recaps, broadcasts, the magazine articles, shows, everything else, past, present, and future at theqbsn.com and q30television.com.
And for all our coverage of Quinnipiac sports, follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports and at Bobcat Breakdown.
Also, can't forget to pick up a copy of our magazine, QBSN, the magazine around campus. And if you're not on campus to grab one, you can check out our digital version online on our website.
Well, that's it for our show. I'm Reagan Martin. That's MJ Baird. And we thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.